How are you, my friends? Today I want to talk about a topic that's been weighing on me for quite a while now, and that has to do with social media and why I think social media in general is destructive to the collective. Let me get into it a little bit. And first off, let me say that I'm not immune to the addictive powers of social media by any stretch. When I'm bored sitting at home, I will flip through Instagram, I will look at Facebook, I will go on Twitter to see what's going on. Heck, I'm recording this and it's being uploaded to YouTube, which is a giant social media platform. But a lot has changed over the years. Back in the day when there was a thing called MySpace, if any of you are old enough to remember that, it was sort of benign. You went there, you uploaded maybe your business, or you connected with some friends, or you watched a cat play a piano. It was really simple. And in the early days of Facebook, the same thing. It was a way to connect with high school friends, your military buddies. Heck, I have a friend that we served together almost 50 years ago, and we've connected and we keep in touch generally on Facebook, and it's wonderful. I get to know what he's doing, he gets to know what I'm doing, and it's just really nice. And you get to upload your pictures from your vacation. All of those things are wonderful. The same thing with Instagram. You take a picture of, ooh, I have a nice cocktail. Ooh, look at this dinner I have, and you take a picture. But this is what I've noticed. The last, I don't know, number of years, it's gotten so vitriolic. It's gotten so hateful. Everybody has an opinion. Let's be honest. Everybody has a political bent. Everybody has a religious belief. Everybody has a cultural identity, a gender identity. Everybody has everything that they feel really strong about. And that's fine. Everybody has a right to that. But what the problem is, from my point of view, is that when you become hateful about your position and how it differs from somebody else's position, whether it be the results of an election, whether it be your religion, or anything that I just talked about. I've been reading, just going on Facebook, just scanning it recently, and I just see people cutting off friends that they've been friends with since kindergarten, or family members because of, they voted differently. When did that become a thing? When I grew up, it used to be, you didn't talk about politics and religion. Those are things you kept private. Everybody is entitled to their own political belief, their own religious belief, how they live their lives privately. But now, this thing, we just go crazy. We air our dirty laundry so everyone can see, and we take such strong positions, and we curse the other side. If the other side is not in agreement with us, if we're not on your team, you're the enemy. When did that become a thing? What has happened that we've become so entrenched in our position that this thing has become a battlefield? That I'm on one side, you're on the other side, I'm right, you're wrong. When did that happen? When did we give up the idea that everybody's entitled to think the way they think, worship the way they worship, love who they want to love, vote for who they want to vote for? It seems like that's such a quaint idea now. But it wasn't so long ago that that's the way it was. You did what you did. Now, granted, it wasn't always, perfect. God knows it was not perfect. But now it's we can't control our behavior, and we put it on this thing for everyone to see. it saddens me, I gotta say. When I read somebody's post that they decided, well, I'm not going to talk to my mother and father or my brother and sister because they voted this way. Or I'm not going to talk to so-and-so because they don't like my lifestyle. Or he eats meat. He's a vegan. He's a Protestant. He's a Catholic. He's a Jew. He's a Muslim. What are we doing? What are we doing? So the idea of social media and connecting in and of itself is not a bad thing. Like I said, it's very nice to connect with people you haven't connected with. If you live far from your family and your friends, your loved ones, and you can send a picture, it's immediate and it's really nice. You know, gone are the days when we had to develop film or, send a snapshot in the mail. Those days are gone, and that's okay because, everything is instant now. Everything is instant gratification, and that's good in some respects. But I don't get it. So I went on Google just to see what Google says about social media, and they came up with the 3 main reasons why social media is bad. Well, I could come up with more, but this is the 3 that they came up with, and I get it. It makes sense. Cyberbullying, just what we're talking about. If it's very, you could be real tough when you're anonymous. When you don't reveal yourself and you just make an anonymous post about, against someone you don't like or something someone said that you don't like, you could be a real tough guy behind this. So cyberbullying is thing. Social anxiety is another reason that Google tells us why social media is a bad thing. Social anxiety, depression. Well, there are people, I don't know how many hours, what's the average number of hours people spend on this thing, but I think it's getting worse and worse. Kids are not going outside and playing in the street anymore like I did. Well, that's long ago, so who plays in the street? But they're not even hiking, they're not doing outdoor activities, they're not even playing sports, they're not socializing with friends in person. Everything is done here. You can't even call somebody anymore. You go, well, I got to call so-and-so, or I tell my kids, you got to give me a call over someone. Call? We don't call. We text. Okay. Send me a text. Attach a picture to it. So we don't communicate like we used to. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Exposure to content that is not age appropriate. Well, you don't have to go too far or hit a wrong key or something and something comes out. It's crazy. So the Surgeon General said here are some of the negative effects of social media. It includes anxiety, which we talked about, body dissatisfaction, body image issues. Well, you see a lot of beautiful people, whether or not they're real or AI, which is a whole other topic. We could do a whole thing on AI, depression, exposure to bullies, which we talked about, low self-esteem, poor mental health contributing to the development of eating disorders. Well, you don't have to go too far to see how many different how-to videos, and this includes YouTube, this is the best way to live, the best way to get muscle, the best way to lose weight, protein, a vegan diet, a carnivore diet. You go crazy. You go crazy. Poor sleep habits. You're on this thing at night, sleep experts will tell you you should shut this thing off a couple hours before you intend to go to sleep. And then some horrible things like self-harm. I don't know the effects truthfully because my children aren't young, they're in their 30s. But I know teens today parents of teens today have to have, or tweens, middle school age. It's got to be difficult. It's got to be difficult, the pressure that these kids have. Anyway, I would really like to take a step back and say, let's communicate like regular people, like maybe we used to before we did things anonymously online, before we vented our hate because you didn't vote the way I voted, or you didn't eat the way I eat, or you don't love the way I love, or you don't worship the way I worship. Why can't we just be accepting? I mean, the general collective demands it. We need it. We as a race, as a society, need to be more forgiving, more open, more accepting. I mean, to cut off a family member or to write something negative about a friend or to a friend because they didn't vote the way you voted for, or because they're carnivores now and they're not on your vegan team. Does it make sense? Anyway, I could go on and just rant on this, but the reality is I think it's destructive. I think what started off as a great idea, a way of connecting, became like Frankenstein's monster. It's not just connecting now. Now we're hiding behind the veil. We're attacking anonymously, or attacking on this where, there's no price to pay for bad behavior. So I wish we'd just go back to being a little more accepting, or try to be more accepting, even if we weren't back then, at least try to. Let me know what you think. Add a comment. Am I just ranting, some old guy, some old 7-year-old man ranting how it used to be in the past? I don't really think so. I think it's just what happened to manners, good manners. Treating people the way you want to be treated. So you didn't vote the way I voted for? So what? You don't know who I voted for because I never say who I vote for. I don't share my politics. I love one woman, so I don't have, I don't have to talk about my sexual activities. I love one woman. I know this all may sound quaint and old-fashioned, but if so be it. That's fine. I just want us to not be so self-destructive, not use social media. Let's go back to the cats playing the piano, the pictures of babies, wedding pictures, birthday pictures, me and my last cruise having a margarita. That's cute, that's fun, that connects, makes people happy. Let's not be hurtful and hateful. That's all I'm saying. So that's all. I wanted to get this out. I don't know who's going to see it or what your thoughts are, but there you go. I will catch you on the next one. I got something good planned for this channel coming up, so stay with us. Thank you.